We've had a lot of description of spiritual practice, of enlightenment practice, of consciousness, and how it's our fundamental reality. But now we've been slammed with everyday reality, and it's expressed in the form of a woman's love. It's something which I think that a lot of men have a problem appreciating. They have a problem taking on board a woman's love. It's such a powerful thing. It's a very beautiful thing. But it can also have a dark side. It can also be quite a tyrannical thing as well. So we men that are described as having commitment issues, they're normally actually issues to do with self-preservation. We have to be quite careful though that we aren't failing to appreciate something very beautiful, and something which, if we're on the receiving end of it, then we might be very, very fortunate indeed. And it's wonderful if you do get together with somebody and there is this love which is given and reciprocated, this love which is given and appreciated. I'm not so sure that love needs to be reciprocated. If that love is properly acknowledged, then that's surely all that's required. So this is very much what drives us on. On a very deep level, we're looking for this love. We might look for it in another human being. We might even look for it in a pet and an animal. We shouldn't put that possibility down, because there's a very unconditional love usually at work there, in the love between a person and their pet. Or we might look for this love in God, or at least in our notions of God. But let's see what happened to the celestial lady. The celestial lady, she never got this love. Her husband was celibate since birth, and as she grew into, and as she blossomed into a woman, her beauty was neither appreciated nor desired. The celestial continued. After a considerable time, the same attachment and affection I had for my husband became non-attachment and dispassion. My husband had grown old. He was interested only in seclusion, and was devoid of all attachment and taste for sensual pleasures. He was ever silent. Of what use is life itself to me? I consider child widowhood, even death or disease, or even the worst calamity preferable to a husband whose nature is not after one's own heart. Indeed, the greatest blessing and the fruition of the life of a woman are that she obtains a young husband who enjoys life and whose conduct and behaviour are sweet and agreeable. A woman whose husband does not enjoy life is frustrated. The uncultivated intellect is destructive. So I think the implication here is that to properly enjoy life, you need to have a cultivated intellect. Wealth which falls into the hands of wicked people is misfortune, because they don't really know how to enjoy it, I suppose. When one's shame has been extinguished by a prostitute, there is great harm. So perhaps this is what one who has money, but not a proper appreciation of how to enjoy life, does. They spend their money on a prostitute. And there's possibly a natural shame about doing so. But that shame is overridden. She is a woman who follows the husband. That is wealth which seeks the good people. That's contentment. That alone is intelligence, which is sweet and not limited, noble and endowed with equal vision. So this is what leads to wisdom. It's quite an extraordinary passage, actually. In a way, this is the basis for true spirituality, not the desiccated aloofness of this lady's husband. Spiritual practice is being with somebody that you love, somebody who loves you. It's enjoying what life has to offer, and it's pursuing the establishment of wisdom. If the husband and wife are fond of each other, then neither diseases of the body, nor those of the mind, neither calamities nor natural disasters afflict their minds. I suppose these things can still happen, but the love and harmonious nature of their life allow them to deal with it and not to be crushed by such things. To the woman whose husband is of bad character, or who does not have a husband, the pleasure gardens of the world are burning sands. A woman can abandon everything in this world for one reason or another, but she cannot abandon her husband. I think some feminists might be up in arms about this, but we have to look at the husband here. The husband's a non-entity. He's somebody who's barely alive, and he's somebody who's pursuing his own bent, basically. And to what extent is this saying something about the male condition? The male condition here is indicated as something that's not worth living unless the love of the woman can be properly appreciated. You yourself see, O sage, what unhappiness I have endured all these years. But now I have cultivated dispassion. Now I have only one desire, to be instructed by you so that I may attain nirvana. Death is preferable to life to one whose desires are frustrated here, and whose heart is agitated, and who is slowly proceeding towards death. My husband too is desirous of attaining nirvana. He is endeavouring to control the mind by the mind. Lord, awaken self-knowledge in both of us with your words of the highest wisdom. Because my husband had no interest in me, I developed dispassion. The mental conditioning became weak, and I practiced yoga, which conferred on me control over space, so that I can move in space. Thereupon I practiced such concentration as would bring about my meeting with the perfected ones. All these have borne fruit. She's met Vasishta in outer space. When I flew away from my own world, I saw a rock on the Loka mountains, which I had not seen before. We had no desire to see this before. My husband and I now desire to attain self-knowledge. I think this rock is her home, and it's obviously a perspective on her home which she had not looked into before. My husband and I now desire to attain self-knowledge. I beg of you to grant this boon, for holy men do not decline such a request. I have seen many perfected ones, but none like you. I take refuge at your feet. Do not abandon me.